Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're going to be talking about a Jinx supplementary guide, and we're going to be taking a look at Jinx using Stormrazor instead of Bloodthirster. So of course Jinx's normal build of course involves going for Bloodthirster at the first spot and basically having these two items swapped. This is what you normally see for Jinx, but for this build we're actually going to swap it around by going for Stormrazor instead of Bloodthirster and going for Blaster. So let's get straight into it. So you're going to go for the Gluttonous Grease for the AD and the Omnivamp first as usual, and then you're going to go for Stormrazor, which is a really strong early game item, of course giving you decent stats, a little bit of attack speed and AD, but of course you do have that burst damage from the Storm Arrow passive, as well as slowing your target and giving you more movement speed. And then, since we're already going for Stormrazor first item, it pairs very nicely with Magnetic Blaster, giving you that bonus range to, of course, proc the Stormrazor, as well as giving you that Static Shift passive. Furthermore, you also, of course, charge up the Stormrazor more quickly with the Power Blitz passive. And then, after that, of course, you're going to be going for Runan's Hurricane, right? Of course, with Jinx, you want to be able to hit multiple people at the same time to get a reset, or just to do more DPS in general. And then, of course, last two items, pretty stock standard for an ADC, i.e. for extra crit damage, as well as Moment Reminder for Armor Pen and Grievous Wounds. And then for the runes, the standard ADC loadout, Lethal Tempo for attack speed and range, Brutal cause you auto attack a ton, Giant Sword to deal with the tanks, Alacrity for more attack speed, as well as Bone Plating for the defensive capabilities. Now for Jinx, you normally want to go for Flash and Cleanse. Normally there's going to be CC, so you want to take Cleanse. Otherwise, your best option generally is going to be Ghost. But with all that said, now let's move on to taking a look at the gameplay. Okay, so let's jump into the gameplay itself. And normally for Jinx, you normally want to play her with a very good Enchanter support. Something like a Yuumi, Lulu, or Milio would be best. Of course, supports that can protect you, like Janna is good as well. But honestly, if you really needed to, you could play her with an aggressive support like Leona, Nautilus, or etc. Whatever other supports as well, right? But Enchanter is just a general preference. So now let's talk about the Stormrazor versus Bloodthirster. And I've talked about this in a lot of videos, especially a lot of the Stormrazor videos like this one, where you swap out Bloodthirster from your regular build for a Stormrazor. And, there are a ton of pros and cons about both. Right? Now, personally, I think that Bloodthirster is just a general better item, simply because you get, more value for an item slot. And what I mean by that is that with Bloodthirster, as a singular item, you firstly get a lot more AD compared to Stormrazor. Stormrazor gives you 40 AD, right? And Bloodthirster gives you 50, plus extra when you're over half HP, which normally should be most of the time, right? You also get a little bit of attack speed and physical VAM, right? Physical VAM is actually really important for Jinx, because basically when you go into teamfights and you go for those reset plays, sometimes you do end up in the front line and you're trying to run people down and you're actually trading autos with them, for example, and having that extra healing is actually very helpful. But of course the main drawback of Bloodthirster is the fact that it's incredibly expensive. It's one of the most expensive items in the game, very expensive, as Riven comes in here for a gank onto MF. MF is getting really low, we flash forward to get in range, and we're able to pick up the first blood onto her. Thanks for the gank, Riven, really good gank on an overextended bot lane. Now, most junglers won't do this because it's a very high variance play. She basically did red into Krugs into gank, which normally is very risky to do, because if you fail the gank, you've wasted a lot of time, you've revealed your position, and it's just a general horrible situation for you. But if you can get the kill or get your bot lane the kill, it's actually kind of amazing, which is what you can see here. So back to the Bloodthirster versus Stormrazor conversation. I've kind of covered why Bloodthirster is good and the small drawback of it being expensive in gold. So what's the strength of Stormrazor, right? Firstly, of course, in direct comparison to Bloodthirster, it's cheaper, right? And why does cheap matter? Well, basically, it matters for the first fight. So basically, there sometimes is going to be a fight at Dragon. Of course, sometimes you have a Dragon for Herald trait, and sometimes you have a fight at Herald followed by a fight at Dragon, or the other way around. But basically, if there is going to be a fight at Dragon, with Bloodthirster, majority of the time you can actually get Bloodthirster by the time Dragon spawns, because it's so expensive. But with Stormrazor, majority of the time you will be able to actually pick up that Stormrazor before the actual Dragon spawns. And what that means is that you will be on a 1 item power spike, which is of course way better than a no item power spike. And furthermore, if the enemy ADC is going for something like a Bloodthirster and they can't get it, you're going to be at a major advantage against the enemy ADC. So that is one of the first big strengths of Stormrazor. Now the other big strength of Stormrazor is the snowballing capabilities. Now, although pure stat-wise, Stormrazor is worse, in the early game, Stormrazor actually gives you more damage. And the reason I say that is because even though it gives you less AD, the passive damage that you get, which of course is that Storm Arrow passive I was referring to earlier to burst someone down, it's actually very, very significant in the early game. It's more than what the Bloodthirster can give you. So Stormrazor is basically strong in the early game, but that damage falls off late game, because in late game, pure AD matters more, which is why Bloodthirster is better than Stormrazor in the late game. So Stormrazor is really good if you get a hit and you want to snowball the game, just to get that early game damage, get more kills, and then, you know, just snowball from there and end the game before you even reach, you know, your last couple of items, if possible. And also, the final thing is the Stormrazor passive, right? The speed up and slow down passive is very useful on Jinx, of course, because when you get a reset, you already get a speed up, right? And with the Stormrazor proccing, you getting the extra speed up and then getting the slow onto the enemy basically means you can either run someone down really easily, or you can reset off somebody and then slow someone else and then run away and escape, right? If you're low HP or if you can't win against the other person. So this is especially great because nowadays Jinx can rarely take ghosts, right? Let's face the facts, right? In the current state of the game, there's always going to be CC on the enemy team, even if it's for just one champion. Like, if you really look at this game, the only real champion that's a very big threat in terms of CC is Vi. I mean, sure, Mundo's slow or like the root / the ulti from Karma does matter, but really the Vi Q and the Vi ulti is really the main form of CC that I have to be scared of. And as a result, I have to take cleanse purely because there's a Vi, right? Not taking cleanse against Vi is hardcore inting, right? So I basically cannot take ghosts, and majority of the time I cannot take ghosts. So going for that extra like speed up and slow down on the Stormrazor is also going to be very helpful. So now that we've talked, don't know why I can't really talk properly today. The English is all coming out wrong. But now that we've talked about the build as well as briefly talked about the supports, that is good with Jinx, now we can actually focus a little bit more on the gameplay. So what you've seen so far, of course, is, as I highlighted just now, Riven did come in for the gank and did get us an early game kill, and that's one of the reasons why I'm deciding to go for Stormrazor, because I'm thinking we can get a hit and snowball the game. Now, whilst the enemy team is taking Dragon, we're obviously not going to contest the Dragon 2v like 4 over there. Our team is trading for the Herald, which the enemy team also isn't really contesting. And in the meanwhile, we actually get not just the wave, but also we farm the Krugs, right? So why are we stealing the Krugs from our jungler? Well, basically, our jungler is on the opposite side of the map, taking the Herald, and she'll probably be clearing the blue side, the blue buff, and the Grom afterwards. So she's not going to come to farm the Krugs in a very, very long while. So by which time the Krugs can, you know, already like respawn, right? They're in a huge fight in the top lane, right? And obviously, she's not going to be farming the Krugs anytime soon. So it's not really... I mean, it is in a way stealing, but it really isn't, because the camp is most likely going to respawn by the time the Riven wants to farm it anyway, right? If things go right. I mean, obviously things are not going right because Riven is dead, so she might end up respawning and coming over to the red side to farm where her Krugs will now be missing. But if she, for example, respawns and goes to the blue side, she's going to be completely fine, right? Definitely, it will be the case where the Krugs will be respawned by the time she comes. And she is going to the blue side, probably to rejoin the fight as we launch a cross-map ulti and get the snipe onto the Mundo for the cross-map kill, getting the reset as well. This reset allows me to push in this wave incredibly quickly and start bashing the tower. Now, we've just seen like 3 people in the top lane. We have no idea where Misfortune is. Akali is seen mid. Right, so at the most, Misfortune could be here to stop us, which she is, but we are able to get almost all of the plates at this point. And we've got a lot of gold from the kill on Mundo as well as the plates. We're now at 1.5k gold lead against the Misfortune. We're in a beautiful spot. And Misfortune is having a little bit of trouble defending the tower by herself, so Karma is now here. We get rooted by Karma. We use the cleanse and the flash to escape all of the CC. Akali now comes in, gets rooted by the Yuumi. Now I'm trying to root other people with the Yuumi ulti, but it's not really working. Akali now still on the backline, gets exhausted by Yuumi, and we barely get the kill on Akali. Barely survive the ignite, and then we're going to pick up the fruit, and now the fight continues. Now Vi is waiting in the wings. My team is going for the Vi. Now I gotta be careful to not get ulted by the Vi because I'm still at a relatively low HP, although I do have Yuumi with me, so it's unlikely that I die, but we do still want to be careful. Now Riven pops the Herald bot, which I don't know if that's a really good idea because we don't really need to Herald bot. I think it's a little bit of a waste of the Herald. Probably heralding like mid or top would be way better, because especially since there isn't really, I mean, I guess there were plates when she popped it, so I guess you did manage to get plates at the very last minute, so maybe that does kind of make a little bit of sense. But Yeah, the bot tower was already really low, so I don't really think that was very necessary. So fight breaking out the top lane, I'm trying to snipe with my ult again, but Window ends up dying before my ulti even travels there, so no snipe for me. Red buff, share, gonna pick that one up. Now I'm gonna go back to bot lane, push out that lane, and perhaps maybe go back in front of the Krugs, maybe rotate to mid, but we definitely don't want to be overextending bot because we can see nobody on the map, which means that anybody could be coming to stop us. Turns out Akali is taking the portal down. And honestly, looking at the state right now, Akali is 0-3. We're 3-0 with Yuumi. I don't really think we need to be overly afraid of the Akali. I don't think Akali is going to be able to kill us, especially with Yuumi having both exhaust and heal up and available. So we don't really need to be overly afraid of the Akali. But of course, we don't want to waste our summoner spells and things like that for no good reason. So at the same time, we don't want to completely ignore the fact that Akali is there, right? So here at this point, we're actually really close to getting our Magnetic Blaster, which is why we're kind of just hardcore farming and doing nothing else. Just checking if Akali is there, and she is. Always good to be aware of if anyone is in the bush, ready to pounce. And now at this point, we have the Blaster completion, so we're going to be backing here, picking up that Blaster, and now we have the double energized item combo. So here I'm kind of just deciding where to go, right? Initially I was going to go bot, but then I realized a fight is breaking out top, and that is a pretty tanky Shen and Riven, right? So we might be able to actually reach there. Shen is now actually running towards us. We launched the ulti just for a little bit of switch, and now I realize I'm on the front line. I'm in trouble. I gotta be flashing away here. Karma now 1 HP. I thought I could get the reset on her, but Misfortune dies. Instead, we get the reset on Misfortune. Now Mundo is in no man's land. We get the kill onto Mundo. Unfortunately, though, we cannot chase the Karma any further, but we still got 2 kills. Now, Vi, the Mad Lad, has like little HP, but she's gone mid to push the wave. Now, unfortunately for us, there's no way we can really reach her. I don't really want to face check here because, like, if Vi and Akali are both here and they both go on me together, like what you see here, Akali is going in on me, I could be in trouble. Now, Akali hits the Shuriken and basically just one-shots me, and that was kind of what I was afraid of. Because basically, the way Akali plays, right, she doesn't just go in for the one-shot, right? She kind of takes a little bit of time to kill you, or she could take a little bit of time if she wants. She could one-shot you as well, but this Akali playing around the Yuumi spells, right? Because Yuumi heal and exhausted, but the exhaust doesn't actually matter if Akali is not actually trying to hit you. She was just waiting in the shroud, hits the E, comes back in, and then one-shots me after the exhaust runs out, which is obviously well played by her and poorly played by me, right? Because if she didn't hit that E, I would have been fine. I wouldn't have died to her, obviously. But that's what happened. And by the way, just look at that, right? No one is focusing the dragon, and I actually sniped out the dragon with my ulti hitting an enemy, securing the dragon, which is really, honestly, pretty funny of an occurrence. But we end up securing the dragon of all, us of all people, not even in the pit. Right? We secure the dragon. So now we're farming the Krugs. And now we realize there's a fight breaking out in the river. So instead of farming the crest, we're going to quickly rotate and try to help out our team. This fight is progressing. Akali has hit the Shuriken. Doesn't go in on the Shuriken though, of course. We are now like 4 people here. Akali trying to push the wave in. Yeah, she's not going to be able to really do so because we are all here and we can just put a stop to her, which is what we're kind of doing right now. And then we're going to try to attempt to get this tower. Now, kind of one of the problems with Magnetic Blaster is that when you proc it on the tower, it procs onto nearby enemies, which forces you to take tower aggro. And that isn't very good, right? Because, that means you have to kind of walk out of tower range and back in again to siege the tower, which is just really troublesome. And, yeah, no one wants to do that. But it's kind of like a no-choice kind of situation, right? So here, unfortunately, we do lose our mid lane tower. No one is defending mid lane, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a wave right there. No one's defending it, so instead of doing the chickens, I'm gonna go for the wave, and then a fight breaks out in the top lane again. And now instead of farming, I have to kind of rotate to the fight to try to help my team, maybe try to clean up a little bit. Here, unfortunately, my team has mostly died, but on the other hand, enemy team has used a lot of cooldowns. I'm flashing in, getting the first reset, and then we're trying to get the second kill. We have 2 kills already. Unfortunately, the 3rd kill was taken by the Shen, but either way, we end up killing a total of 4 people. And I would say it's a good fight in general, right? So the whole enemy team gets aced, 2 for 5, really, really good trade. Unfortunately, Shen is too low for us to do Baron. I mean, I can't really solo the Baron, even with a Yuumi. I think that's really, really difficult. Honestly, it might be possible if Yuumi like heals me and then hops out to take aggro and then hops in and heals me again. So some kind of convoluted combination like that, but it's just really unlikely. So we're not gonna even try. We're gonna just get the mid lane tower. Mid lane tower is giving our entire team gold, and likewise Shen is going for the top lane tower. So that kill, those kills not only helped us get direct gold, but also like gold in the form of tower. However, the top lane tower, Shen was not quite able to get it in time, which means that the top lane tower still stands. Now we're hunting for the skull crab. Just gonna get the skull crab just for the extra gold. And of course, now we are really, pretty fed, right? We're 6-1 and 5. Now, as I mentioned, of course, when we were going for Stormraiser, we were just 1 and 0, right? But I mean, how common is it for Jinx to get like kills in lane, right? Not very common, because Jinx is not really a lane champion. Although you do have those games, right? So that's why I then sniped the window, got more kills, and then start just going for the snowball based build, which is exactly what I'm doing here. And here, once again, a huge fight breaks out in the top lane. I'm walking straight into a wall as I'm trying to aim my ulti across the map. I do hit the Mundo, but I conclude that in this case, it's not really worth it to walk all the way across the map to help my team. It's probably more worth it to farm up the minions that are all oncoming. And unfortunately here, you see the enemy team is getting a free bounty on the mid lane tower. We can't get there in time to defend. Even if we did get there in time, it's a little bit dangerous with Vi kind of shadowing her bot lane, which means that we really have to just let them get the tower and then clear the wave afterwards, which is kind of what we're doing now here as well. You can see Karma backing on Vision. We're just going to interrupt the back and just sort of make her panic a bit. I'm actually just going to back myself, so really it's kind of just to waste time and kind of delay her tempo. Now here, I decide to go for a stasis, and the reason why is because I can stasis especially the Akali. I mean, Akali is 1-6 and 1, right? But let's face it, right? A 1-6 and 1 Akali can still kill an ADC, right? She has 2 items and she can still kill an ADC easily, right? Furthermore, you have a 0 and 2 Vi. Yep, granted she is 0 and 2. However, once again, it's a Vi who does a lot of damage, and she obviously did just get buffed in 6.1b. And I do believe she is very strong and does way too much damage. So even though she is kind of behind, she is still relatively fed in comparison to everybody else in the game, right? So yeah, definitely don't want to be on the receiving end of those one-shots. I mean, worst case scenario, even if we get caught in like a Karma ult into MF ult combo, we can stasis that as well. So overall, stasis just a lot of value here. Now once again, my team ganging up on the Mundo. Mundo is dead. In the meantime, the enemy team is doing the Dragon. So this is the classic Dragon Baron trade, right? You see, you think the enemy team is trolling by cross-mapping on the other side of the Dragon and you get a free Dragon, right? But if you're all in the Dragon, then the whole enemy team gets a free Baron, right? I mean, I've been the victim of this multiple times. I've pulled it off myself multiple times as well, like what you just saw here. So, in reality, it kind of goes both ways, right? You cannot all be rushing the Dragon when Baron is up, right? Because if the enemy team is quote-unquote out of position, they're out of position for the Dragon, but it means they're in position for the Baron because they're on the opposite sides of the map. Now, unless they're in your base or something like that, then maybe they are out of position. But trading Dragon for like inhib towers is really a good trade, right? For the guy who gets the inhib towers, right? So really, Dragon is the least valuable objective in the game, in my opinion. Like unless it's Elder Dragon, of course, Elder Dragon is probably the most important objective in the game, and then like Dragon is like the least, right? So if you can trade Dragon for towers, for Baron, for kills, even like it's just better, right? So here we get a kill on Akali, we get the reset. Now we're over here blasting the enemy team. Now we're going ham here, flashing in because we know we can get the resets, and we know we can destroy the enemy team. More resets and more resets. Now we've gotten the triple. Unfortunately, no Quadra or Penta here, but we are Baroned up, and we are going to be able to go into the enemies. Now here I'm just farming damage, right? I'm just blasting them with my rockets. I'm not gonna kill either of these 2 tanks, but I'm just farming a ton of damage onto them, and then we can just end the game like so. And there we have it for the video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one, and thank you guys so much for watching.